Hello there! Welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Captain of Industry. Last time, we continued making good use of the output of our massive Electronics 2 factory from 2 episodes ago now by producing Lab Equipment 3 and using that to upgrade and run our research labs. This gives us access to all the great technologies here in phase 4 out of 5 of the tech tree. We are officially breaking into the late stage of the game. Not quite the end game, but definitely the late stages. Pretty cool. We're currently chipping away at making progress towards CO2 recycling so that we can complete the process of removing all air pollution from our base. In addition, it gives us a better way to manufacture graphite. In an ideal world, we'll potentially be able to implement this technology later in the episode. Today's non-negotiable goal, however, is to finally build our northern mining outpost. We've been kicking this can down the road for ages now, but a glance at the only active iron mine that we have on the entire island should illustrate why push has finally come to shove. As a reminder, or in case this is your first episode in the series, we have been planning for some time now to make the transition out of our starter deposits for both iron and coal, which are probably the two most important resources, this side of oil at least, for running our base right now. Iron goes into steel, and steel goes into everything. Coal also goes into steel, and it's how we're running most of our power plant and some of the supplemental power that we've built over here in our Electronics 2 factory. These are key resources for us, and these deposits are much smaller than they used to be. Fortunately, up here to the north, there's a completely untouched and pretty pure iron deposit right here, along with a coal deposit right here. Given their convenient location next to each other and our improved ore sorting technology, we're going to create a single mining outpost up in this area. In addition, there happens to be an oil patch here. Not too shabby. We'll probably run a train to capture some of that as well, since we're already going to have to build the tracks this far anyway. No reason not to. Let's make it even more valuable for the investment that we're making. Okay, let's come back to the mine though. What do we actually need to do to transition away cleanly from this iron mine? Well, of course, we'll have to get the other mine up and running, with the mining outposts, the excavators, and the trucks that go along with that. But we'll also have to transport that ore down some train tracks that we started sketching out. That will probably come down here, and we'll have to bring that ore directly to the steel factory. There's nowhere else in our base that consumes it, so we might as well bring it directly here. That means we'll want a train station in this area, something we've earmarked for ourselves here. That said, we'll probably want it to be pretty high throughput, considering how much we're going through already and the fact that that pace only ever increases over time. And that means we'll probably want something like this. That's pretty sizable. We're also going to need to fit a coal train station somewhere in this area. And that coal train station is actually going to have to be somewhat similar to our transshipment hub approach to our dumping materials, our landfill materials, because sure, we need to bring the coal down here to our manufacturing area, certainly the smelting zones of our manufacturing area. Those places that require coal as fuel as an input. Anywhere you see a blast furnace 1 or 2, that's a pretty good indicator we need some coal. Other places also require coal in this area. And certainly, as we've said, so does our power plant. So one receiving coal train station in this area will do a pretty good job for us. However, we do also need quite a bit of coal down here at the electronics factory. Decent amount of that is to run power here, but we do require it for a lot of other processes, including the desalination work that we do to supply water over here, and a good number of other smelting type processes too. So we could run a second train all the way up here, all the way down there. Or we could acknowledge that we're likely to be changing our coal supply over time to any number of other mines in the future, just as we did with our landfill. We can add a little bit more complexity up front to create a bit more flexibility going forward. So the exact arrangement doesn't matter quite yet, but it'll probably take up something like this amount of space. This plus one of these, and we're going to need space for these to turn around. And we want them to do it comfortably, because we're going to have some very long trains, probably longer than our current longest trains that are 8 hoppers each. In order for them to efficiently unload and load and unload in this area without blocking traffic, we'll need to make sure that they have extra space around their train stations. All that to say, this is going to take up a decent amount of space. And certainly, we'll get some of that space back here when we no longer need to mine in this area. But the important point here really is just that we're going to need some of the space that's currently in the mine right now. So with that in mind, we probably want to focus on this end of the mine right now, scrape out this corner and the last little bits off the floor here, and then start filling it in, which we can definitely do before we take the last little bits out here to the west. So I'm going to play around with the mining designation real quick to make that adjustment. So the first thing we'll do is actually just go to the mine tower itself, and we'll say, and it's going to get mad at us for this for a moment, I don't want to delete this designation because we're just going to have to immediately do it again, right? But I would like the mine tower to focus only in this narrow area here for now. Once this area is complete, we'll fill it in and then focus over here. This will give us the space to complete these train stations with a little bit more comfort. So we're going to immediately get an error that there are some mining designations outside of a mine tower as soon as we unpause. That's fine, to be expected. We're aware of it, and it's temporary. The other thing we'll need to do, this area is already set to clear the iron ore out, and you can see, because each of these excavators is focused on the iron ore itself, when we run out, despite the fact that it could go all the way into this corner, when we run out of the deposit, more or less, our excavators have decided to focus elsewhere, and that is good, desired behavior. By the way, some folks will try to draw every single little fleck of whatever resource, but here, iron, out of the ground. I will not be so religious in my pursuit of that. The biggest thing for me is simply, does the mining designation, does the resource overlay still pop in any areas? Because this is all going to get paved over and built over in the longer run, and for me, personally, out of sight, out of mind. So I don't care about the visual flex. If you do, that's totally fine. But I don't. What I care about is, can we get these last little bits up? Because this little square will be on our map forever unless we scrape it out. So what we'll do here is, particularly in this area, we'll ask our excavators to go a layer deeper than they already have. So I will remove this designation. Press F to go down a level. Let's take it to, this is already overkill. In fact, 6 is probably where we should stop. Or we'll find ourselves digging up way more rock than we need to. F to go back to flat. We'll go at least this far. Probably out to here. And let's say here. In this area, what the heck? Let's just do it. All the way back, like so. And then we will overwrite this -4 depth designation in all of this space to the -6. And you know what? What the heck? If we run out of iron ore, we can always tell it, never mind, don't worry about it. So slight adjustment on my end there. Mid-thought, but I think this will work for now. The other thing we can do is tell it, you could start Z for the dumping designation. You can start filling in. This area, I think, is pretty done. I think we could probably take that all the way out to here at least. The difference in heights here means that there's going to be some land sliding down, and I don't want to dump stuff in here just to have to replace it. So in fact, looking at it closer, I think I will do that. Whoops, and I lost some mining designation. Reset. But we can start filling in around the edges here, for sure. Maybe even out to there. Okay, and as these areas get completed, we'll just fill it right back in. This will not prolong in any way our iron supply here. This is just about focusing one area so that we can reuse it when we build our train stations down here in the future. Okay. I'll unpause and let the game run for a bit now that we've given it better instructions. And then we can come up here, there's our error, as predicted, and start talking about, well, let's say pick up where we previously left off, talking about this outpost area, our goals, our thoughts, what should and should not be a part of this, etc. So, there's a lot in this area, actually, resource-wise, that we can take advantage of. As we mentioned, certainly coal, iron, oil. We still have a little bit of room to run on our copper deposit, but this is probably our next best, most accessible copper deposit. Just past that, there's some gold, and there's some gold in these hills as well. There's even a pretty decent renewable water reservoir. These are all things that we would consume, or do already consume, could consume from these locations back in our base. Now, this starts to get pretty far from an ore sorting plant, but it's something we could think about in the future. I think it's more likely that when we tap these deposits, we'll build another ore sorter up here and run a train down through what used to be the old mine, or something like that. So I don't think we need to make this be the be-all, end-all, just because it's a large, high-throughput processing plant. But it's worth keeping in mind that we are probably going to keep expanding out into these areas as we build the infrastructure. And the infrastructure, I basically mean the train tracks, right? So we're going to have a set of rails that come all the way out here, and we're building it, certainly in the first place, to service this particular ore sorter processing these key resources. But as we said, the oil is already here, and we definitely need it. And it's definitely simple. So we'll probably set that up in relatively short order. But we want to think about these tracks as being able potentially to go up onto this plateau, right? So let's make sure that we leave space for that operation since we have all this room and we can afford to think in that medium term. Let's do that. Similarly, there's a lot of stuff out this way, including uranium for when we get to nuclear power, an enormous coal deposit, and a much larger iron deposit than we're currently going to tap. In fact, it's worth pointing out, this is nice and pure and accessible. There's not a ton of rock in most places sitting over top of it. A little bit here, a little bit out here, but it's mostly just a pile of ore, and that's fantastic. But it's not a huge one. It's hard to remember now because this is, mostly consumed. But this deposit was 2, 3, maybe even more times this deposit. And we're going to go through this pretty quickly as a result, because the pace that we're going through this has obviously increased over the 25 episodes we've put out so far. So yes, this will be fine for now, but we need to be thinking about accessing this in the longer run. That could be train tracks through here and across here. It could be continuing to dump out this way, building a land bridge. We don't have to make that decision yet. We don't have to commit to anything yet, but it's worth keeping these things in mind as we build our infrastructure. Now, I just saw our first distraction, which is that we are out of fuel. Yeah, so I have some concerns here, actually. I think that our crude oil supply is not completely sufficient for our diesel needs. So behind the scenes, and by that I just mean real quickly before I turn the camera on and without unpausing, I did send our cargo ship back out to pick up whatever oil is still on the map. These are paused, right? But there's still several thousand oil stored out on the map. We'll bring that back. But I am a little bit worried that we're going to have to start tapping this more continuously, which does mean more pops and Unity usage for those world mine oil rigs. I'm also not super satisfied with this train's setup here. Because he's so long and this is the largest, bypass we could build here, he does poke out while he's unloading on both ends and does create more train traffic, which is just, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I don't love it. And when we build the oil patch train up here, we might think about a different train station setup in the longer run down here. I prefer to have it close to the cargo dock because we want to be able to prioritize through this little balancer system these two inputs. But technically we could have the train station out here and simply run a longer pipe from the train station to the exact same balancer if we wanted, or move the balancer. There's nothing magical about the stuff that we happen to already put down, but it is more convenient to work with if we can. And now, yeah, this reservoir is mad at us. We've really hooked a lot up to this reservoir, partly to let this one drain, or recharge rather, because we had drained it so much, but to check on that. How is it doing? In fact, it's fully recharged, so we could start tapping this again if we were so inclined. And the other thing we have is just a ton down here still, I believe, of capacity for putting water out here. That's interesting. That's not draining at this end of the system super well. I'm wondering, well, and especially with this being so empty at this point, if we might need to be thinking about adjusting our water setup here at some point. Well, let's quickly build, I suppose, 2 of these. I think it was 4 last time that drained this too much, so let's try that. And let's bring this over here. I suppose we may want to be able to prioritize. I think for now we simply need to get it moving. And if we need to pause this supply up that way because this is getting annihilated, then we'll do that. But I believe, just to be clear, these are all running continuously as best I can tell, which means we don't need to worry about throughput here. We just need to make sure that we have other sources going. This is the thing that concerns me though, but it seems to have bounced back a little bit. It seems to be right on the edge of bouncing back or not, apparently. Well, let's ignore the problem for a little while and see if it goes away. Okay, so out here, train stations, right? Plenty of space we want to have. But we'll probably need, just to illustrate, I won't build the exact tracks, but we'll probably need to have a train station complex, something like this, right? So this being for our oil, coming in here, this being coal and iron respectively, or something like that. But we'll have something like this lined up for each of these turns. And we'll want to make sure that there's plenty of space here so that a long train can run through. And then they'll have to turn around as well. Merge back up. Oops. Out this way, and reconnect with the rail over here. So it probably looks something like this, and we'll need, certainly, storages out here. Iron, coal, as well as we're going to need to dump rock and dirt. Now for rock and dirt, other mines, we've brought our rock and dirt here so that we can then dump it out here or eventually out here, wherever we're trying to expand. Because we're so close to the shore here, and because there's a productive reason to expand this space already, I think we'll just, there's no point in running a train like this, you know what I mean? It's too short. So I think for now, we'll ask our trucks to simply dump it. Particularly, this is a pretty pure deposit, right? When you get over here, you can see these gray bars. There's a decent amount of rock we have to go through to get to what's left. But generally speaking, there's not going to be too much to sort through here compared to some of the other places we've had to dig so far. It's a little bit less true here, but it's pretty true at the start. So we'll have plenty of time to adapt, I think is the point I'm trying to make. And then of course we'll need to add a bunch of crossings over here as well. I think this is a fine depth away from the mountain to be. We want to make sure that we have room for our mine, right? We don't want train traffic to be running through mining traffic. And the other thing we'll want to make sure is that we can have our trucks, if we're going to reject single product loads, that our trucks can access these storages as well. Final note, this pit here is actually where all mixed loads are delivered. So just FYI, you can kind of see it a little bit when you place it, like it flickers a little bit. There it is. You can see that sort of approach has to be clear in the top left there. I can't point it out with my cursor because my cursor is moving the building, but I hope you see what I'm talking about. Okay, those are all the things that we have to keep in mind here. And I think I'm just going to go into a quick time lapse now. With all of our pieces in place, I will sketch out what I think this should look like. So, see you soon. So our terraforming crew has completed the ramp, which is awesome. We will ask them to do something else in this area then. Maybe we'll ask them to clear out some of this passageway here before you get to the coal mine, but there's like a decent amount of mountain over this way. So I'll set them up to do that. Check it in here real quick. I'm certain that I will be making some minor adjustments, but I think this is the general approach, right? So the ore sorter itself has to sort iron, coal, rock, dirt. For each of those, because it's so high throughput, and we don't ever want one to block the rest, I actually gave 2 belts each. And we still have 2 to spare, something to work with in the future if we need to. But each product spits out two massive 450 belts. Why not just build it at this point, right? So this is rock and dirt. They are to be launched into the ocean. This is coal and iron. And these are our coal and iron stations. Necessarily, we're going to have to run a bunch of belts up and over somewhere. So I tried to keep coal on level 5 and iron on level 4, because 5 can go all the way across both stations and 4 cannot. I don't love the various squigglies here, and so I might play around with it, but it'll look like this in one way or another, and I'll just sort of skip ahead on that. The other consideration is, so we want to make sure again that trains that are long, right, have space to start loading here without sticking out onto what will probably be in the longer run, a pretty high traffic rail line, right? So we need to either move this over a little bit so that there's more room to run here, or we could come over earlier and then turn, right? So that the backup is here instead. That's still going to create traffic specific to this station. It'll actually make zero difference in the short term, but it could allow trains to go further. I think the simplest thing is to move things over. It's a little bit inefficient from a truck trips perspective, but I think we're going to be okay with that for the sort of size and overall throughput of this complex. So I will play around with that here and reserve the right to cut out any very low value add of me tweaking around some precise belt alignments. But yes, this is the plan. In case anyone is interested, I'm trying to maximize the road width here, and the pillars are going to be the problem, right? So I've actually kind of done a clean reset, and what I'm going to do is I'm extending it from this side universally. I'm extending it out just until I trigger needing a middle pillar. See that? And then I'm coming back 1. And then from there, I'll make whatever adjustment I need to meet my belt. But the first thing I'm going to do in each of these cases, come all the way across, back 1. Trigger the middle pillar, come back 1. I do really wish we had better tools for navigating the pillars that come with belts and pipes, but until then, this is the best that I can do. Now, it's the same width every time. I don't have to find this each time, right? But I'm just demonstrating that that is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I will go back into the time lapse now. All right, I don't know if it makes a difference to you, but it makes a difference to me. That feels a little bit more visually organized, and there's a much cleaner path under here. Now I just need to reconnect out here, which is going to be a function of how far in this direction we want to have things. I think we're not going to do any weird little, stacker side setup here. I think we're going to keep it nice and clean, which means that we want at least, I think probably we want room for, what do we think? This is a cleaner way to copy paste because I don't want to get the belts. This now, across both of these sets of train stations, is 8 cars. And if we wanted to get up to 12, that would come out to here, which if you sort of turn that along this turn, means that it's probably still sticking out just a little bit. So I think we're going to move over a little bit more. Something like this. Now we'll still need to turn around, and we are in the oil patch at this point, which is fine. It actually doesn't matter. We can build all of our extractors over here if we want. It's no problem, but it's worth being aware of. And we'll probably want to extend out a little bit in this direction as well so that we aren't immediately running into each other as we merge either. So not nearly as long on this end as on this end, right? Because we're more worried about sticking out into traffic than to bumping into the one other train on this line, but worth keeping in mind as well. Okay, I'll connect up the tracks and these belts, and then I think we'll be ready to launch. Okay. I think this works. I adjusted our outputs slightly. Turns out I had rock and dirt flipped over here. Not that it really matters. But I moved them down to this end because we're gonna come out this way so that we have that track runway. And I think actually it makes the remaining two outputs that we have in the middle a little bit more accessible for future use, so that's probably better anyway. So it's pretty big, right? Now we have all this space, so that's great, we should use it. But I think, if there's a lesson I've learned about building trains so far, and particularly trying to squeeze them into pre-existing urban areas, is more space is better. If you can use it, you should. And the other thing I've learned is that I know that tight turns slow you down, but I kind of just prefer to have the most percentage of the train network on the grid, like north, south, east, west, as possible, because these curves are the only places that you can't build crossings as a result. And we have some awkward spaces out here, as a result of that as well. So, for example, a better way to rebuild this would be to come down here and do a tight turn, or frankly, just to have it meet up once here as a tight turn. Now we've painted ourselves into a corner already on that, so we're not going to change it, but a lesson learned, and so hopefully a lesson properly applied as well. So we'll also need a mine tower for the iron, and we're going to tell it you may only export here, 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 here. Suppose that does technically mean we must allow direct delivery here. Do the exact same thing over here for coal, except it's not this one, it's this one. Interesting. Oh, okay. Because we have these dumped, or set to go get dumped directly, it won't let us also send stuff here. But I think actually it's a fair point for rock and dirt. Who cares? You can just dump them out here. So we'll do that instead. All right. So I think the next thing we'll need is a whole bunch of crossings, because we cannot have our trucks have to go all the way out and around a bunch. So I'm going to quickly slap down, I don't know, probably almost a half dozen of those. All right, I think this works. We are going to Unity build our crossings, and then start construction on all of the tracks, except for the oil station. I don't think we're going to bother with that yet. but it's there so we know what it looks like eventually. And then I suppose probably all of this infrastructure next. So I'll unpause and we'll get after it. Of course, I don't have the Unity as a result. Should have started down here. These are the more important ones, huh? Oh well. That's okay. We will simply unpause them before getting to the rest of the tracks. And top them off with Unity if we have to along the way. Now, why do you suddenly have a bunch of trucks? I didn't assign that to you. I think because we copied this one, it automatically took the same settings. Now we'll need to give them trucks eventually, don't get me wrong, but we're gonna take the ones that we already have over here, so. Refugees, good. So now that we have our pops kind of rebuilt a little bit, I'm gonna bring this factory the rest of the way back online. Because as you can see, we're kind of going through them. But everyone's working, so I'm sure we will catch up eventually. And let's go adopt a bunch of pops. Not enough Unity, of course, naturally. That's all right, we're getting there. All right, so we've brought back some more oil, so we're fine in the short term. The other thing here to keep in mind too, right? Each of these is 60, so this is 240. I think we only built 200 extraction capacity out here, right? 10x 20. So technically, if this really does need to be running at 100%, we can't supply that with just this train. On the other hand, this train is running full every time, which means, not quite full, actually. Yeah, okay. All right, good. So there's a little bit more throughput left in this train. Although I'm wondering, does this now back up? What we really should have done from the very beginning here was build a storage. And in fact, we're gonna do that very quickly here. If we don't have a storage that's basically directly connected, right? Our throughput is 600 if we're connected storage to train station. And that should be enough to fill the cars without it ever backing up. But this line fills up pretty quickly otherwise. So that's why we need a tiny bit of a buffer here. This will obviously be crude oil. And we'll just connect down here. Like so. 200 should still fit into this pipe. So we're gonna see if this fixes, I don't know if it fixes, if it helps enough. If it doesn't, we'll live, we'll adjust. And we are starting to pick up some coal. Maybe we'll build this after all. Because you're all getting just a tiny bit of coal, right? Yeah, makes sense. Start building some track sections. I suppose we're gonna need a train, huh? I'm looking around here. I don't think we have any. The only completely unused train we have right now is this limestone train. And we could just brick this and go back to using trucks to keep that full. But I like the system and I think we can afford another train. So I think we're gonna do it. We'll start, let's see. We'll start with an iron train. What is one diesel locomotive followed by, like, this is our current longest train, right? 8. I'm wondering, 12, this could be rough on a hill. But fortunately, it should be running empty very briefly up a hill, and it's otherwise pretty flat. If we add another engine, is that any better? Somewhat. Maybe we do 2 engines, 12 cars. If we do that, we're gonna have to build... Oh, what the heck. Let's build all 3 of these extensions. They've just been sitting there as ghosts for too long anyway, so we'll get that going. And we'll see if that allows us to do a full 12. I think it should. Might even get us to 16. And if that's the case, we'll run it. Bigger trains are more efficient, and we're definitely going to run the throughput for this to make sense, I would expect. This is filling in. Good, good. Very good. And I think, in fact, that means we can adjust this now to come out even this far, really. We'll still need to be able to navigate within the mine, of course, but no reason not to take back a little bit more space here. I'd love if you got this little spot right here, please. I can't do all of this corner until that's gone. Very silly. But we have reclaimed all of this space. All right, good. This is coming along. We are going through our railroad parts for sure. This is going to be one of the more massive all-at-once rail parts builds that we do. I think that's a fine amount of storage generally, but obviously here we have quite a bit to do. So. This is coming along though, and of course it's going to suddenly require 30 workers, which we don't have, so maybe we come back here, grab those real quick. Suddenly we need more housing again already. Never-ending cycle, huh? And we aren't even running our ship. Unbelievable. Oh hey, totally random. But we've just upgraded to Chemical Plant 2. Made me realize, well, I realized when I was editing in the last video, that I mathed poorly out here and that this is not enough paper. And would you look at that? Yeah. So technically what I should have done last time was just boost this, but we've also unlocked Chemical Plant 2. So we can, and therefore might as well just go ahead and upgrade this so we don't have to burn Unity on it. But that should help smooth out and get us to our fullest potential again here shortly. And in fact, I guess I will boost it in the short term just to catch up. But that was me mathing poorly, so that's on me. Diesel seems to be keeping up a little bit better. That's good. The oil here is no small part of that, I'm sure. Is this train running all the way full now? It is, so it's a marginal improvement. And if this ends up piling up over time, we'll know that that's helpful, because it means that more was coming out here than the train was capable of doing without a storage buffer here. So I have a feeling that's going to be the case, but let's keep an eye on it. And just checking in our factory here, this is all going fine, right? I think we're finally basically producing at maybe not full speed, but pretty close. All of this seems to be running all right. Anyone here having any trouble? Your output is full. It's a good problem to have. And everyone here is receiving what they need, as far as I can tell. So I think we're feeling good about that. Glass does seem to be holding up. I'm feeling pretty good about our decision not to bother building this. At least not yet. But I think we might just be not building it, which is pretty good. Still working on those tracks. Oh, the other thing we'll need is gravel. That's clearly not the issue. But that is good. Also keeping up. Would like to upgrade these crushers. Oh, I told our trucks to do some paving before I turn on the camera as well. Figured that was okay. But I held off paving in this area because I think we're going to upgrade a good number of these crushers here, because they are officially our bottleneck, but I don't want to spend resources doing that quite yet. CO2 recycling is here. I don't know if we can afford to implement it quite yet, but that's still cool to see. And I think the next thing we'll do is prioritize robotic assembly by way of computing, which is going to be pretty exciting. Parts are keeping up okay. Oh, and speaking of keeping up okay, I think we're all right on... Well, no, I mean, this isn't full up, so we're still using... I think it's worth boosting these two still. That's good. This seems to be keeping up, although it is officially a copper problem. I don't know if it's a problem. Ooh, this is a problem. What are we gonna do about that? This seems okay. And presumably, is this still running basically? It's full on salt water. Well, we don't want that to be a bottleneck, so I think we have to add a couple more of these dumps. Ah, too bad we can't fit here though. Here's one. Maybe another here. So after we hit the priority to our salt production here, basically this is just this needs to continue along here and overflow out that way. That should help keep this up, which makes me feel a little bit better, and maybe it can even come help supply, but the issue is this is our real, this is where we have supply that we're not using, but it's not connected up to up here, which is what we do have an issue with. So I think what we need to do is connect, yeah, that's what it is. All right, so we need, and I think I'll probably put a balancer here for it, but we need to connect our two, what are currently two separate water mains. Okay. Build. Build, build, build. I feel like we're short on unity, which has me wondering, yeah, we're not exactly impressive on medical supplies, but we are catching up, so that's good. Suppose, do we need to boost this? We don't, but if we do briefly, it'll be helpful. All right, this has all been quite the distraction from we're still trying to build a railroad. So let's get the next segment of rails going. Is this good on paper yet? Short on wood chips. Ah, of course. Now that, oh my gosh, I almost quit out to the main menu without saving. But this is not required. Yeah, this won't be required to be boosted in the longer run. Okay, good. This water also could come off of the water main. I think that would be better. Cool. I feel like we're pretty much on a single unified water main now. Is that right? I think it is. And that's very good. Let's prioritize in over here for now to take a little bit of the pressure off out here. And then over here, I think we want to prioritize, oops, that, because our friends here can contribute. Yeah. All right. Well, we're putting that together as we go, but I think that should help. Speaking of things that should help, that should be medical supplies in motion again. Oh, we were getting that. Okay, that had already built back up. Good, good, good. Fine. This looks pretty close to good on paper. So we'll let that go. And again, just to be sure, 6 plus 12, 24. And as long as this isn't running that often, it isn't, we should be fine there too. How do we not have, we have that unity. Do we not have construction parts 1? Oh, wow. Okay. I guess we do still use some of that. That's all right. Very good. Don't have any nonsense in here, do we? We do. We do have some nonsense in here. Interesting. It's actually kind of a lot of copper. You may receive, for now, while we're building up that buffer, some of this. Boy, we need this though, huh? Gonna immediately unlearn that lesson. You're simply full. Refugees. Mixed. Yeah, so you are allowed to export here. That's okay. You can do that. Please do that, in fact. It's there. We have to use it. And then how is this going? We're getting there. We're getting there. A lot more rock to clear out, I guess. And I'm for now, this is allowed, but I'm not going to require it because our trains aren't keeping up with just how much rock we have to scrape out of here. If you have to go dump it over here, that is fine. I mean, like, that's okay. It's just, yeah, okay, so this is the train traffic that I was talking about, because anytime he pokes in here or in here, this whole path gets blocked, which is unfortunate. Don't think there's much to be done about that. This allows him until he's in that space, at least, maybe? I don't know. We shall see. But this is filling up. That means some combination of our boat has done his job and our tweaks have been helpful. Our tweaks have definitely been helpful because this is piling up. Okay. Good, good. How bad is this? That's improving already. It was at like 6 something. So very nice. You're hanging in there just fine. And how are you doing despite not yet having your... because again, with the parts 1. Maybe we'll just split and boost. That's the way to do that, I think. Steel's still hanging in there, so. Cement is almost, it's not quite a problem yet, but this might be the next factor we kind of do a nice little tweak for, like we did with our copper plant last time. Good. Yeah, so this is now receiving everything that was here. Good, that's a good use. And I suppose maybe this would be permissible to clear out some of this. Lab equipment. Yeah, so that's... because that's valuable. I would hate to waste that. So I think what we might do is just a tiny little temp storage here, where you may bring some if you would like. And we'll just dump it out there. That should clear out this. This is less valuable, but it's still helpful, I suppose. So you may be manually supplied momentarily. I don't care about wood chips. That is now more than I care about. I don't think we care about that much paper either. Yeah, we don't. Okay. Neat. That's finally ready. Still chipping away up here. Wonder if we can help some of that along. It's so weird to me that, like, segment fractions that get built together or not. How's our actual, like, train? Okay, so the extensions are good. And we are capable of making a 12-hopper train now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Do you think we could hit 16? We can. And we know that 1 locomotive and 8 cars works. So 2 locomotives and 16 cars maybe should work. We'll find out. Should we commit to building that yet? The one last question we could ask is, should it be diesel or should it be steam? We have a way to fuel diesel and certainly a way to fuel coal in this area. We're going to be bringing more coal down. So either works there. But I do think, I have it in my head that steam trains actually are better on inclines. So let's keep these numbers in mind. 80, 3.6, 3.6. Interesting. So lower max speed, right? Better up a small incline, the same level of terrible for a heavy incline. What level of incline is this? Because I'm pretty sure that don't look like 13 degrees to me. That looks like a full 25. So let me just try something here. I'm pretty sure the red line means that that's 25. And in fact, if I use J to toggle what inclines we allow, 25 or 12, yeah, we can't actually build up here. So this is definitely a 25-degree incline, which means it's going to suck no matter the train. So we might as well have the highest speed on flat. So I think I just talked myself into this should be diesel. I suppose I could just flip these. But there we go. And it'll be for a new line. It's going to take a minute. So let's start building that. All right, the other thing we'll need to do is actually build, you know, the train stations and everything up here. I suppose, wow. No, don't take it there unless, that's annoying. I only meant for you to do this when you have weird coal. Oh well, so be it. Let's just get the whole thing up and running then. This should all go, and this should all go at least. Get the storage going. And that way, when these do get full, they can be cleared out. And neat, we've kind of carved a decent pushback here as well so that we have some space to operate in this area. The other thing I want to do, actually, since this is going to start collapsing this area, is prioritize getting the trees out of the coal mine spot. These are all so far away anyway, you know? Might as well. Let's let that all run and build for a bit. And how's our mine doing? Oh my gosh, come on, get that, please. It's gonna get it last, isn't it? I just know it is. But good news, we're pretty close to last either way. So that's good. But good, I mean, you can already see we've reclaimed a decent amount of space here. I really want to get this area too, right, for a train turnaround spot. I mean, you saw how much space this took to do cleanly and properly, right? And I really wouldn't mind having something pretty similar over here. I suppose we could start sketching it a little bit. I mean, ultimately we want this, right, for coal over here. So we could just remove this. Copy it over as a little placeholder. I mean, it's probably roughly here. Is that right? In this case, we might actually we'll have to think about orientations. And in fact, I think that's your answer right there. We want the coal storage, right, to be accessible to the base, because we'll end up clearing this out when this mine no longer exists. So we want this basically to serve the function of this. But we also need it to be able to, go out to other trains. So we'll think about the approach. I might take the opportunity to kind of redo this. This whole area is a little underwhelming to me, a little bit messy, so we'll keep an eye on it. But then this, I think, probably goes like here, right? Which is why we need to fill in. It could also just go more like here, even, I suppose, as could this whole thing, really. Now that I look at it, if we turned back into this space. Something to think about. I'm not sure, I'm not entirely convinced yet, but let's see. I think we would put the station head over here, but still have the fueling station towards the back, maybe? I don't know. Something like this. Although in this instance, we would also put the fueling station at the back too, because we'd be using the same connection that we will presumably run over here. And good, by the way, this was pretty low, so I'm glad to see that this is going again as well. That means that our diesel production has been rescued. Good, good. More refugees. We have computing. We definitely can't do that right now, but that's cool. That's going to be really fun. I'm excited. Okay, so more terraforming. Should we could start to flatten some of the rest of this area out here too, right? But is that our number one terraforming concern in the base right now? I don't know that that's true. Still working on the coal mine. Actually don't know if I have a better answer right now. Maybe we'll tell them to take out this mountain a little bit further. I mean, they're right there. We could also have them come over here and flatten this space. Yeah, maybe that's the move, actually. This area, by the way, is a great candidate for a farming zone as well. Just looking at all of the dirt and the large water supply here too. So let's do that instead. We'll say focus here for now. Move your way west as necessary. How is this deposit doing? It's holding steady. Okay, I'll take that. It's not terrible. Interesting. That's like quite a bit of biomass. So the other thing we started doing, right, was a bit of a surgical series of upgrades here. I don't know that we're ready to continue on that. We have some parts for, at least, which is nice. But we might need to stop making those so that we can make all of these. Actually, I'm looking at it. I think we can afford all of this as well. Not the tracks yet, ironically. Some of the tracks, actually. technically we just need this curve. Nope, we need those two because they connect to this curve. Just super helpful micro here, right? Okay. But yes, that should all be right. Obviously, this all needs to happen, as does all of this. And this. And that ought to be it. Let's double check our directions here. Yeah, obviously this is wrong. But otherwise, this is all the correct circulation pattern. And I think we're in good shape. Okay. Good, good, good. How is our train construction coming? Halfway done, function of steel. Sure, that makes sense. And that's fine, because we're not ready for it until we build our stations, right? Oh, beautiful. Hang on. We've gotten... Right? We've gotten all of the iron that I can see. Okay, good. Then please, go get that last little bit here. And once that's out, we'll start filling in. You're out of steel, so there's no point in boosting that. That is unfortunate because these tracks are all going to require... Actually, there's a surprising amount already supplied. Let's give it a second. If we need to take a steel loan here, we will. In fact, we need to take a steel loan here, so we will. Let's just grab 2,000 real quick. I mean, that's nothing for us. Where else? Because we're chewing through it there. Did we end up... Great, we're caught up here. I'm trying to think where else I'm boosting unnecessarily, if anywhere. Oh, this is part of the steel issue, huh? Is that obviously we have gotten microscopically focused on some pretty unproductive areas here. Okay, but that's done. And that means that we can now get back to focusing, thank goodness, on the more productive parts of the mine. That should also help our steel. But that finally also means that we can fill this space in. And we'll focus there to start. You know what? One-time push. Because our, truck network can definitely help right now. Jeez. But it would be good to get all of that out of here. I really hope we're not trucking it up here. Why are we trucking it up here? Guys, it's right there. What are you doing? Oh my gosh, we weren't allowing. Okay, so we had accept assigned only. For here? I don't know what to make of that. That's really strange. Okay, that was quite an inefficiency. That was probably very taxing to our truck network. Very dumb, but good that we found it. And that should help. We had our trucks basically fighting our trains, just a circular path of bringing rock down here and then trucks running it back up. That's ridiculous. Whatever. It's resolved. Okay. And this is a problem because we are out of Unity. Are we not supplying some? Whoa, we're short on water? That's a pause moment. All right, I need to watch it run. But are we not supplying enough water? I mean, this should be prioritizing it out. So unless these are, like, broken, which, no, they're not. And in fact, the output is full. Is this just a throughput issue? Maybe, actually, because this is a larger pipe, so it's probably siphoning off proportionally more. Yeah, we cannot have that. No, 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 no. It's like we have the water, right? Obviously, so it has to be a logistics issue. And this looks better. Wow. Okay, but the wastewater not keeping up does not make sense to me unless this isn't running at full capacity somehow. But it definitely has what it needs here and here. Maybe the water output was full, ironically. It does seem like that's part of the issue, but this should have input priority. Well, getting kind of chased out by this water is only going to get worse because we've upgraded that, so I think this has to also get upgraded. Interesting. All right, we're going to come back to that because that's odd. This number is improving. Have we built all of the tracks yet? Yeah, just about. It's pretty good. Let's prioritize them, well, certainly on the shared track. But where we are going to build our iron in particular, I suppose that should get built. We might as well set a nice little mining designation here as well. We'll start up here, just flatten it all out. And then we'll probably still from up here, just because it's going to be faster, we'll dig down, even though this is definitely the better area, or the more pure area, so to speak. Not by a lot, but you can see there's little strips of gray here and not so much here. So, and if we can get started on that before we get finished down here, that wouldn't be the worst thing either. A little bit of overlap. Okay. Let's kick the speed back up again. Oh, and I think we want to prioritize parts 3 for now. We're definitely full here again. I don't know. We just got back a tiny bit of Unity, and here I am about to shred it again, but these are the things that we need. Oh my gosh, are we out of housing again? Oh, we need to stop the beacon. We actually don't need this many people now. Oops. That's fine. Because I actually think we can do... Yeah, we have 200. We can do one more. All right, but we're done with the beacon after that. Yep. Yeah, because on account of we're cruising through steel right now. I'm a little bit worried that the fact that our steel production slowed for a while is the only reason that our water's like actually catching back up a little bit. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. All right, you know what? This is unnecessary steel consumption, actually. We're gonna be okay without it. So now that our water is hopefully working well again. Okay, good. We're back from whatever this was, but I think these should be good. They're full on water, not brine. Good. All right, so we're actually getting all of the water out of here that we expect to. We're fully supplying our settlement. And I believe, yes, we're even able to supply fully over here without too much draw from down here via this balancer, right? So the priority is water first goes here. And if there's anything left over, it goes out to this tiny use here, but more importantly, it comes up here where it can do two things. It can backfill, including this storage, anything that these groundwater pumps are not able to supply. And in fact, this is doing so well that I kind of want to add another one. Because this is renewable. This doesn't even cost us the coal that it costs us to run down there to make steam, basically, right? So I think we'll build another one of these, and that should decrease even further the amount of draw off of this that our farm supply takes, right? So the remainder of that pushes up here to our steel facility, where it is prioritized over the remainder of water coming from this reservoir, right? This reservoir supplies our power plant and all of these industrial uses as well. And so now that they're connected and running properly, I think we should be comfortable. So I feel better about that now. That should stabilize this reservoir over time. Good. This is starting to fill in a bit. I think we can stop doing that. And in fact, I should make sure to remember to remove that. Okay, good. Since our train is still being built, but I think we're so close to being done up here. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Good. Okay. Very good. All right, so what we need to do, now that we have the space and that everything else is ready, the last thing we need to do is get our stations. So this is basically the layout. This I feel good about. So this is going to be steel factory, iron receiving, right? That's what this is. This is going to be manufacturing, my goodness, coal receiving. You could also call this transshipment coal receiving, but primarily it serves as receiving for manufacturing. And we would call this transshipment hub coal export. this is what will supply here. But these, they say rock and dirt right now, but boy, is that ever not true. These coal storages will also be available to supply these industrial uses, last mile delivered by trucks. So now we just need to think about the pathing. Same consideration as before about how long we want these trains to be, and so therefore how much space they need to be able to have so that they don't occupy traffic. So I do think we need to move these up, even though it's going to mean longer belts out here, unfortunately. I just think that's necessary. It's probably something like this. And then just creating that right angle curve here that I like to play around with. I mean, I think we'd probably still try to get back onto the line here. I think that's right. But then I think the question becomes, what's the movement to get back out here? Do we try to run up here and merge back up with this line? Do we come out here and meet back up out there? How do we approach? I think we'll probably branch off of this line a little bit early, just to be sure that we're not clogging up traffic. We might even branch off as early as out here. One more crossing here and then split out or something. What I know for sure is we need this to fill in. I would kind of like this to become a return path. Right now, all it's doing is, frankly, I think it was only even, yeah, it only exists so that our train could come from the depot and actually get out onto this line, doesn't it? There's no train that uses this segment right here. Which does potentially mean we could do, you know, something like that. Of course, that means that this station will get all sorts of clogged up. And there's definitely no way for this train to turn around in time anyway. So I think we kind of have to. I think our hands are tied. We have to merge back onto this main line here and then take the slightly indirect route of branching off. Like, I mean, ideally it'd be up through here, but we obviously don't want to pass through the fuel station. I suppose we could bypass it. This is a short train who's not always there. We could do something like this. Even give ourselves another tile of space, because why not? But merge out like this. This is quite the quite the pathing. But I think that probably makes the most sense, right? I think so. Okay. So while we wait for this to fill in, and in fact, do we want to tell it to focus? No, I mean, I think this is about right. I could tell it to pull back there a bit. We have computing. Cool. Just gonna grab some grab bag stuff here. Storage and cargo ship stuff never hurt. All right, so then let's try to build these movements. This is, again, just our little right-hand turn blueprint. Oh my goodness. There we go. So this is here. Something like that, and then another one just over, and another one would be once the coal station there is deleted. So we'll just place it here for good measure. Is this enough depth? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, we just built a 16-car train, right? That's pretty long. And look, if that ends up being stupid, we'll turn it into two 1x8s, so that's fine. But I would like to try the longer version. I think that, I don't know, I think it could be cool. I think it could work. So I do think we probably want to put all of this back, yeah, even a little bit further, right? So if that's 5 trains worth, call it 6, 7, maybe 8 on the turn. This would be another 4, 5. I think this could work right here. I think that's the move. Like this depth. Maybe it's even right here. So that we have the crossings all lined up even. I wonder if that's doable. It's probably like there. So, I mean, obviously we can't place it quite yet, but I think that's basically what we're looking for. So we'll have to fill in the rest of it there as the dumping allows. And I will, of course, make sure to give our trucks the space to do that. Oh, and that does mean we will want to fill in that too. And, well, we are going to have to get the train, or the tracks to fill in there too. Oh, we should flatten this space while we have a terraforming crew with not that much else to do. Come down here. And focus only on this. This is what we should have had do the entire time, frankly, but focus on this, because boy, would we ever like to have this space for our track approach as well. So let's do that, and let's just remove all of this because it's in the way, and we have our placeholder here. And we'll let it run for a minute. So we said they're going to come out this way. And then we want to do this bypass, basically. Yeah, I think we should just merge up here. Sure, right? And this should all still be one way, and it goes out, up, and around. Okay. While we have the rail parts, and in fact, while we are full on rail parts, let's not waste that. You know, we have all these people. Get Bertha back out on the map, huh? Did we end up with any upgrades that we haven't placed yet? I don't think so. That's good. And why don't we do a little bit of paving? A nice little frontage here. You know what I want to do? Start using something other than basic concrete. I like this research campus as a little area. And I'm in the northeastern United States. A lot of our universities particularly have a lot of brick. And I think it looks cool. So I'm going to make a call there that we're going to add some brick. Yeah, I mean, that's cute, right? I like it. The blue and the red pop. We need to get some more colors in here, you know? So that probably, yep, torches our concrete for now. All right, so how much of this can we place now? I don't think everything, right? Oh, everything. Okay. Let's do that. We said basically this major grid line, I think, works well. And conversely, this I'll get out of here. That can connect, as can that, that. And then the question is, I guess we'll build these individually since they are all going to be a little bit different. I know I need to add the centerpiece. I'm saying it out loud so I remember that. And then there's the connector, which we'll need 2 of here. And then there's this. Now this we actually do only want this stuff going one direction, so that's a good lead-in to this part. We won't be able to finish this connection until this station is gone, but that's okay because our coal is not yet ready to transition. And in fact, we won't build any of this center stuff at all. I suppose we will build this though, so that our trucks can continue through in the meanwhile. Probably build one here as well, now that I look at it. Since we'll have to get into the coal, you know? Although here we need to make sure that this direction, for now, is still bidirectional because we're using our shuttle train to supply in the meanwhile. And this is not going to be something you can drive through while there's a train here, but we don't care. That's okay. How'd this battle go? We got our butts kicked. Cool. All right, and then just need to fill this in. Will hopefully go quickly because there's a pile we can just throw in there. I think in the meanwhile though, we might as well build the track we know we're going to need right away. And I think we can even work on the iron station. Hang on, hang on. Yes. Yes, that's fine. Just sort of thinking for a second, where are we gonna run the refueling line? Okay, good. Is our train built? I'm sure it is by now. It's just sitting here. Yep, okay. Now we can't really give it a valid instruction yet, so we won't, but we're getting pretty close to being comfortable with the amount of space that we're gonna need here. So let's say we want to come out to, I don't know, here first, and then to here, I don't think that's quite enough. And we can have this happen all the way up here, actually. It's basically going to be this, but we're going to bring it over about 2 large tiles. And this should be enough of approach for a very long train. So we'll just let these guys do their job real quick. So that keeps filling in. As soon as we can take out this little corner here, I think we'll be ready. Maybe we'll do this at a slightly kinder angle. Yeah, I think that's good. And we're clear. Let's do this. All right. Let's, just so we can see it running, let's get trucks up here. And our train, we should finally be able to create our new line. So this we're going to call iron manufacturing import. Okay, so we'll want to add a stop. You're going to pick up out here. And then you're going to come back and drop off right here. Where is our very long train? How long is he? Oh my God, that's pretty long. And there he goes through the bypass that we set up. How is he going to handle this hill? Is this going to be as bad as I am concerned? That wasn't a problem at all. It's a short hill. It's a steep hill, but it's a short hill. Here he goes. Now this is where I'm very curious. Yeah, okay, so he's definitely sticking out into traffic for the first of the 4 unloads, and he's sticking out here again for the last. That's not so bad. It's not so bad. Of course, he has no iron because we're just now starting. There it is. Starting to come out. So he'll bring a little bit of iron on his next trip. That's cool. I'm going to, because we have some extra unity and all these little shrubs bother me in areas that we are operating. Okay, we'll clear this space out for us. I don't mind it, you know, where we're not, working, but, you know, it just feels, right now it feels like this area is more developed because it's also landscaped. So that's cool. I like that. All right, but he comes back down here and immediately causes a problem with our coal train because, whoops, I didn't think about that at all. And we're not ready to transition off of coal quite yet. How shall we handle this? We're going to handle this by building the new coal station. Or at least this much of it. And we'll find a path for that train to come drop off over here instead, allowing us to delete this after all. Okay. We need to adjust your line and delete here. So you start at the coal mine export, and then you come over here to manufacturing coal receive. I think that should work. He's probably going to need a quick reset. So we'll do that. That should also allow us to clear out of here. Although, wrong train type, huh? That was a steam train we just sent. So he won't be able to refuel here, is the point. I guess we could just tell him to refuel out here. Temporarily. There you go. That also means that this can all go, although we're going to let people take the coal from it first. But this, oopsies, should now also be functional accidentally. Take it. All right, look at that. Wow. Iron ore coming. That's great. That is so much iron ore. Yeah, doubling up the station really does speed things along. No surprise, but we can definitely do it. So, what are you waiting for now? Retrack him, I suppose, right? Yeah. I think this track segment is no longer required either. So if that simplifies things, I'm happy to remove it. Obviously, same with that blueprint. Okay. Okay. Now, I don't mind if he sits a little bit in his own traffic from time to time, just because he brings so much. He just needs to come like once every 5 minutes and unload. So that's okay. Yeah, I guess actually this entire segment even. Somebody needs to fuel him. That's actually something we should have out here. I meant to build one of these and then forgot, but we should have a fuel station for our miners, our excavators out here. And I thought about, do we want to do like a fuel train run up here? Do we want to run these all off diesel up here? I don't think so. I don't think so. We'd be running the fuel out here with a train from the same spot that we're basically just fueling it here anyway. It's just for the excavators that we need to build this. So I think that's fine. Research keeps cruising along. That is our expansion, or possible expansion to the cargo dock now. Do you think we can upgrade? I don't think we can. I think we have to delete and rebuild this, which is too bad. Yeah. But that's okay. That'll be worth doing so that we can increase our throughput there eventually as well. Okay. But hey, look at this. We have a ton of iron. So we'll wait until this is all done, but then we connect up the belts here, delete this, and we're good to go. That's pretty great. All right. Transition navigated. No longer concerned. And I think the timing on that is pretty good, given what we what we have left here. So well done today. I think we did a solid job. It was not the terrifying skin of our teeth situation that our first, our first oil transition was, getting our refinery up under pressure. So that's good. It means we have gotten our feet under us enough that we are able to be proactive and get these things done ahead of, I won't say ahead of schedule, this is right on schedule, but ahead of crisis. So good stuff. All right, well, I enjoyed myself. I hope you did too. If you did, be sure to step in again for the next one. But until then, bye-bye.